So let's talk about brains for this week. We're going to learn about neuroscientists. So let's see for the next slide. What is a neuroscientist? I think Mr. Lingham will give a great explanation on this.
All right, so a neuroscientist, well, I want to hear your guess first. Can one of you give me a guess of what you think a neuroscientist is? Farah, do you have a guess?
Studies brains?
Studies brains. That's an excellent guess. Yes. A neuroscientist is a scientist that studies the brain and the nervous system. So not just the brain, actually we have a whole nervous system that we'll learn more about. A neuroscientist works very hard to understand how our brain functions and the different regions of the brain as well as our nervous systems. Neuro means brain, so that was a clue right in the word. Here is a picture of a very famous neuroscientist, Marion Diamond. She studied the brain of Albert Einstein. There's Albert Einstein's brain right there. On Thursday, all of you Wonderkids are also going to meet a very amazing real-life neuroscientist to learn about how they work with the brain and the nervous system.
I have a question.
A neuro is a brain.
Oh, we had a guess on what a neuron is. You guys are ahead of the game.
Yeah, great
Had
job.
all the animals, and now you have a great guess on what a neuron is. So let's get started on what is a neuron. ¿Qué es una neurona? With my little character, Dr. Neurona, which is neuron in Spanish. So a neuron is the nerve cells that send messages throughout all your brain, throughout all your body. And Leo and Sebastian are right.
And that your whole brain controls your whole body.
Exactly, yeah. You wouldn't be able to do anything at all without your brain.
Heart.
You're right, it even controls your heart. It even controls parts of it that's involuntary. Yeah, your brain is the control center of your whole entire body. You can't move or feel or do anything without your brain.
Do it.
But what is a neuron?
Do you know what I do?
Which is neurons are cells inside of your brain and throughout your body. They're special cells that communicate between your brain and your rest of your body.
And I'm glad that everybody's wearing the little brain hats for today. We're getting started with neuroscience.
Hello, everyone. Super excited to see you all and be here today. We can head on over to the next slide. I can tell you a little bit more about what I do. So as Miss Andrea said, I study mesial temporal lobe epilepsy. So remember earlier when you were touching the temporal lobes, can we do that again? Can we touch our temporal lobes? So imagine if our temporal lobes, if the cells in our temporal lobes were acting so crazy, too crazy, right? That it made us start shaking a lot, it made us fall asleep, or it made our thinking very bad, right? So oftentimes what we have to do to help these people is neurosurgeons take a little piece of that brain that's causing all the craziness, they take it out of the brain. Yeah, so imagine a little chunk of your brain being taken out that's gone bad. And then it helps them to think and act and move more better, okay? So let's imagine a little Susie over here. As you see in this picture, little Susie over on, I believe, the left side, some of the symptoms is loss of tone, so it's difficult to hear things, convulsing, like shaking. Maybe you've seen in a movie, right, where someone's tumbled over and they start to shake. That's a part of a major sign of epilepsy. Loss of consciousness. Like I said, they maybe tip over and it seems like they're sleeping. Or what is called prolonged post-ictal states, which means it's just difficult for them to think, right? It's like you're sitting down or you're laying down and your mind goes completely blank. So like I said, the neurosurgeons have to take out a piece or a chunk of the brain for them to start to think better, right? And for them to stop shaking as much. So if you can move on over to the next, raise their hand and guess. I see, okay. So I'm gonna take a couple of volunteers. So I see Dakai first, and then Ariana and Zelda, and Luca. So Dakai, how many hours do you think it takes me to do my experiment?
Say
a number. Any number.
Yeah, any number. Any number.
10.
10. That's a very good guess. Okay, Ariana and Zelda?
Infinity hours.
Say that again, I'm sorry?
Infinity hours.
I'm sorry, say that one more time. How many hours?
Infinity.
Did you say 18?
No.
Infinity.
Oh, infinity. Oh, that's a good guess. Infinity. Well, if it takes infinity, then I would never get anything done, right? That's a funny guess, though. Who else did I see? I think I saw Luca. Is there someone?
I think you take 5 hours.
5 hours. Okay, that's a very good guess too. The closest person was Dakai. So it actually can take me up to 20 to 24 hours with my experiment. It takes a very long time. So for about 20 to 24 hours, I stay up throughout the entire day and I have to do all my experiments. Can anybody guess what I do to stay up for 20 hours? Go ahead, yeah. Anybody can shout out. Dakai, I see. Ariana and Zelda, I see. Anyone can shout out.
Coffee.
Yes, good job. Coffee. Yes, I would not be. I would not be. What else? Yep, it was coffee. Yes. So I would not function without coffee. So thank God for coffee. Okay. So let me take you through my day, my experiment day. So in the morning, I meet with the neurosurgeon and we give them a tissue box with different type. Oh, did somebody, Ethan, are you raising your hand? Yeah, go ahead. Do you have a question or a comment?
Do not drink too much coffee.
You're right. That's a very good tip. I should not drink too much coffee, which is why I only reserve coffee really for my experiment days or the days that I have to be very, very focused. But you're right. Too much coffee is not good for you. Did someone else? I think someone else, Dakai, did you have your hand raised or someone else had their hand raised? Yes, Dakai, go ahead and tell me.
Drink tea.
Drink tea. You know what? My advisor does not drink any coffee. He only drinks tea. And he only sleeps 4 hours every single night, just 4 hours. And he drinks tea. So I need to try to do that. Maybe not the 4 hours of sleep, but it takes a lot of dedication and focus, right? And training to be able to function just on tea. So good tip, Dakai. Thank you. Okay, so let me take you through my day. So like I said, in the morning, I meet with the neurosurgeons and I give them a tissue box. And the tissue box has something called hypothermosol. And actually, I'm going to go, if you look behind me, we have these two refrigerators. They look like refrigerators, but you cannot keep food in them, right? Because they have chemicals in them that are not good for eating, right? But so, for example, let me show you. There's a certain solution, and this costs a lot of money. Can anybody guess how much this one bottle costs? Ariana and Zelda and Dakai. Go ahead and guess how much this costs.
1,000 and billion.
You said 1,000?
1,000 billion.
Okay, you're right. This is $1,000. This bottle costs $1,000. It's very, very expensive. And so we have to keep the tissue in this solution, right? I'm gonna put it back real quick. So I give the neurosurgeons the tissue box with that solution. And then a few hours later, they come back to me. And if, as you see on the second picture, there's a little tube that looks like this, and it has the tissue inside, right? And then the next step is to cut the tissue. I cut the tissue very small. And then it's kind of hard to see, but on the upper picture, there is a microscope that helps me to see the different activity within the tissue, right? So I can track the activity and we can see all the neurons acting really, 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 really crazy. And then what I do is I try to find something to help push down the activity so it's not going as crazy. And then the other thing we do is we put different types of stains on the tissue, and it looks like these really pretty, as you can see on the bottom, these green and these purple different markers. There we go. That's attaching to the different cells, right? And that helps us to understand what's causing the seizure. We can move on to the next slide. Thank you for the question, Luca. Very good question.
Our Wonder Kids are such smart neuroscientists asking all these great questions. I'm so proud of you guys. So today, we're going to review everything we learned about brains. So then you can go back to your families and brag about all the fun facts you learned today. So remember the parts of a neuron. What is a neuron to start with? A neuron is what we did today in the water bottle. These neurons are these tiny little guys that have a head on the top and little feet on the bottom, and they're inside your brain. There's a ton of neurons inside your brain. Next is, what are neurotransmitters? Like we discussed today, neurotransmitters are the messages a neuron sends to another. So they send over each message from the foot, from what looks like the little feet, to the little head of the other neuron. They're like passing a ball one to another. And then lastly, we're going to review, what does a real neuroscientist do? Do you guys remember the cool lab Miss Casey showed us around? And all the sample pieces she got from the neurosurgeon too, to research on. She looks through a microscope and sees all these cells and everything to find out more causes to brain diseases or how the brain functions as a whole. Neuroscientists are amazing people.